Hello, this should be our last video for Lesson 1, The Distant Past. If you are using the e-text, click Next 4 times. So I'm on the first page right here. I'm going to click Next 4 times to get to where I need to be. I believe I've clicked Next 4 times. We are going to be on page 5 in your digital notebook. Make sure to get rid of this wall if you are split screen. Yes, I'm on the right page. So this page is looking at this painting. This is a cave painting. The painting of the bull. It was found in a cave in France. How do you think ancient artists chose which subjects or animals to paint on their wall? So this is an opinion question. If you're using the actual textbook, it'll be on page 10. Look at the picture, this painting of this bull. How do you think that they knew to draw this? This looks like an actual bull. How did people from thousands of years ago know what a bull looked like? Okay, so they lived in a cave. It was probably overlooking a pasture or a river. So how do you think that they chose to paint the things that they painted? Go ahead and put your response right under number 1, right here on page 5. Pause my video and fill that out now. All right, let's move on to our last page, page 6. That first question, you'll see if you were just on page 5, we already clicked Next 4 times. So here's that picture that you just talked about. Just go up to the top, which describes a way that early hunter-gatherers got food. So it says which because in your mastery check, it's going to give you options. So in this paragraph that is circled, it's asking you, how did hunter-gatherers get food? So as it's being read to you, please make sure to get a couple things in here. How did hunter-gatherers get food?
How did hunter-gatherers live? Early humans were hunter-gatherers, which means that they lived by hunting small animals and gathering plants. They also probably scavenged for food left by predators. They formed societies and developed ways to improve their chances for survival. Archaeologists know very little about how early hunter-gatherers, such as Lucy, lived, but they do know that their lives were often harsh. Many groups appeared for a time and died out. To survive and grow, early humans developed technology, tools, and skills to meet their needs.
All right, again, now there's many different things that hunter-gatherers did to get food, but on the mastery check, it's going to give you a list of different things, so make sure you have all from in here. So which describes a way that early hunter-gatherers got food? If you're in the textbook, this is on page 11, right under how did hunter-gatherers live. And if you're using the e-text, you already clicked Next 4 times. So go ahead and pause my video and get that answer. All right, number 2. We're going to listen to how were the first tools made. So I will play these 2 paragraphs. You are looking to answer this question. Why is the Paleolithic era named for stone? That answer will be in this pink highlighted text. So let's go ahead and listen.
How were the first tools made? About 2.5 million years ago, early humans learned how to make tools out of stone. This technology was so important to human survival that archaeologists call this period the Paleolithic era, or the Old Stone Age. The Paleolithic era ended about 2,500 to 10,000 years ago. Over time, tool makers become more skillful, making thinner and sharper stone blades. Some blades were used to tip spears and arrows. Tool makers also began making weapons from bones and antlers. As their skills and weapons improved, Paleolithic hunters were able to turn from hunting small animals to hunting larger animals, such as deer.
All right, why is the Paleolithic era named for stone? In that first sentence, hint, hint, you'll find the answer for how or why that time was named for stone. It's called the Stone Age. So go ahead and pause my video and get that answer. All right, let's go ahead and listen to the rest of the lesson. How did fire affect human development? Well, without fire, where would we be? I mean, we saw it in the video, in the second video, in the second video for this lesson. How did fire affect human development? You'll see another primary source. We will then listen to, finishing out this lesson, what was life like for hunter-gatherers? And then the lesson will be done. So let's go ahead and listen to the rest of this lesson.
How did fire affect human development? Around 800,000 years ago, people also learned how to use fire. With fire, people could have light on dark nights, cook meat and plants, and use flames to aid in hunting and to scare off dangerous animals. Making fire also had important long-term effects, such as enabling people to live in places where it otherwise would have been too cold for people to survive. Here, a British archaeologist explains why learning to control fire was an important step in human development. Primary source. The control of fire was presumably the first great step in man's freedom from the bondage of his environment. Mankind is no longer restricted in his movement to a limited range of climates, and his activities need not be entirely determined by the sun's light. But in mastery of fire, man was controlling a mighty physical force. V. Jordan Child, Man Makes Himself. What was life like for hunter-gatherers? Culture includes the many different elements that make up the way of life of a people. These include social and family organization, beliefs and values, technology, shelter and clothing, common activities, storytelling, rituals, and art. Stone Age hunter-gatherers lived in small groups or bands. After gathering as much food as they could in one area, they moved on. They built temporary huts out of branches or made tents of animal skins. Bands stayed small so they could move easily. A typical band included 10 or 12 adults and their children. Men generally did the hunting, but they also gathered other food. Women usually gathered fruit, grains, seeds, nuts, eggs, and honey. They caught small animals and may have picked herbs for medicine.
So this is pretty big. In the Stone Age, during the Paleolithic era, which is also called the Stone Age, hunter-gatherers lived in small groups. There was not big civilizations like we live in today. They could only live in a big enough group of what they could feed. So if they could only feed 10 people, then only 10 people could be in their group. Because if they had more than 10 people, people would starve because they didn't have enough food to feed everyone. They didn't have a McDonald's or a Kroger right around the corner to go buy food. They had to hunt and gather. So they built temporary huts as well. Temporary huts out of branches, because then they could take them apart. Because as everyone knows, what do geese do in the winter? They migrate south. Well, if geese are what these people live on to eat, and the geese leave, then the people would starve. So the people had to make it so that they could travel where the animals migrate to, which we'll learn more about in the next lesson. But these people couldn't build anything permanent because they would have to get up and move to follow food. Okay, they cannot survive without the food, and when their food leaves or is all gone, then they have to go find more food. So they take their shelters, and the entire village goes. So in this case, in a small group of the 10 people, those 10 people would pack everything up and walk to a new location to find a new home.